Hey YouTube, what's up? This is Ben from shouldigetit.com, also benrevson.com. I'm a portrait and automotive photographer based in the Bay Area and Santa Barbara, California. And in this video, I'm going to be telling you guys about the Tamron 70 to 200 millimeter telephoto lens. This is the G2. It's about $1,100 on Amazon, and it is a fantastic lens for any type of photography that you do. Really, if you're a portrait photographer, automotive photographer, landscape photographer, product photographer, lifestyle photographer, documentary, editorial, whatever you're shooting, even video, this is a fantastic lens. I'm gonna tell you why, and I'm gonna be telling you basically what I really love about the lens, one thing that really drives me crazy, but I guess I'll get used to it, and then we're gonna show you some images from an awesome shoot I did with my friend Tess in Santa Barbara with a lot of really nice backlit photos using natural light. And typically I shoot with the Nikon 85mm 1.4G. This is my go-to workhorse portrait lens, and even though this is a 1.4 and this is a 2.8, I think the 70-200 2.8 is going to become my primary lens for portraits at 200 millimeters at f2.8. It's way easier to get sharp images, especially because this lens has vibration control, and the background is still blurred out super nicely because you have a more compressed background being at 200 millimeters. So fantastic portrait lens. If you're trying to decide between an 85mm and a 70-200, get the 70-200 first, and then if you see you really have a need for an 85, pick that up later. But if I could go back a couple years, if this G2 was the same price that I got the 85mm for, I would recommend the G2. All right, let's talk about it, and then we'll get onto my computer and show you some sample images and a little bit of behind the scenes video with Tess, as you can see right here. So this is the lens. You can see everything is inside the barrel and it's weather sealed. What I mean by that is when you zoom from 70 to 200, nothing changes. The lens doesn't get any longer, nothing extends. It's not like the Tamron 24 to 70, which at 24 is this small, and at 70 extends like that. So everything is contained inside the barrel. It's got this really nice zoom ring right here at the end. Pretty quick turns. You can hear it clicks, it snaps, it's really nice. And then you have a manual focus ring below it, and you can turn it through the entire focal range manually in basically about one hand turn. It doesn't get awkward, and it does turn infinitely. Super smooth ring, really nice rubber grip on it, fantastic. Below that, we have the focusing window. So as you can see right here, when I put my hand in front of the lens and hit the focus button, it focuses super fast. And this is fantastic if you're doing sports photography or shooting some cars, or even if you're shooting a model that's walking towards you and you're having her move a little bit and you're doing autofocus continuous. This lens focuses super quickly, and especially with the Nikon D750 focusing system, worked fantastically, as you can see in these images of my friend Tess. Really happy with how fast this lens focuses. Now, the one gripe that I have with it is when it comes down to these switches on the side. As you can see, we have the vibration control mode switch. So we have 1, 2, and 3 modes. So I shoot on mode 3. That's what I recommend for most photo shoots. Depending on what you're doing, you can look up the different modes. They're in the description, but mode 3 is kind of the general VC that you're going to want to use. Then we have vibration control on or off. So if you're on a tripod, you can turn it off. Then we have autofocus, manual focus turned on or off, kind of like the switch you have on your body. But basically that shows that the autofocus motor is built into this lens, so you can use it on any camera body. And then you have your full or infinite to just 3 meters focusing distance. So this is basically if your subject is 3 meters or more from you, you can just set this and the focus will be even faster because it doesn't have to hunt through the entire range. Now, my issue with this is I shoot photos like this, right? I have my hand on the lens. And then when I need to review the images, I move my hand over here and I hit the play button on the camera, right? So sometimes what happened on shoots with this lens is I would go like this, and I don't know if you heard that, but the vibration control just clicked off because the switches literally just move. You can see I'm not even pushing down that hard with my finger, and my hand just slides on the lens, and this happens. And what ended up happening on 2 of my shoots is that I moved my hand to chimp real quick, went like that, looked at the images, was like, okay, these images look good, went back up to shoot, and this was during an awards breakfast that I was shooting. Went back up to shoot, hit the focus button, and the lens would not focus. And I couldn't tell what was wrong. I didn't know if my camera was acting up or if I had flipped this switch somehow. But then I looked on the lens and the autofocus, manual focus switch moved because I had slid my hand up and down the barrel of the lens. So you might think, okay, that's not the biggest issue, Ben, just watch where your hand goes. But the thing is, even when it's not the autofocus, manual focus going up and down, sometimes I turned vibration control on and off by accident, and I wouldn't notice this because right now you guys can hear it click, but when you're out shooting, like out in a really windy location, or if you're talking to someone, have music playing, you might not hear it, and it might take a few seconds to figure out that you didn't have it. Or if you're shooting and autofocus is on, vibration control turned off, you might not notice that VC turned off, and you might be fine without it, but you know, it's definitely an issue. I wish these buttons had a little bit more resistance, or they were placed on the right side, which yes, would be a little bit awkward, but this is a huge kind of, not deal breaker, but it's a huge issue, something to watch out for when using this lens. Make sure that autofocus and vibration control is turned on and stays on if you want it to be. Just a quick interruption. The tripod plate is actually built into the lens collar here, so you don't need to put a tripod base or plate on the bottom of this. This hooks up to most standard size tripods, and it just slides on and you tighten it just like your regulator would. So that is super awesome. Now back to the review. Now weight-wise, this lens is definitely hefty. I would recommend getting a vertical grip for your camera if you're gonna shoot with it. And you can get a vertical grip for almost any camera for about 60 bucks. I'll have a bunch of links down in the description below, but I have this vertical grip right here on my Nikon D800 that I've been shooting with for over 5 years. And it is from a company called Zykos. Hopefully you guys can see that. I think it was about $60 in 2013. Probably picked this up used for like 25 bucks now on eBay. And it holds an extra battery. It's got a battery tray right here, and it just balances out the weight really easily. So these just screw onto the bottom of your camera, and that way you have a lot more kind of weight distribution to balance out with the larger lens, and you can also shoot vertically more comfortably with the shutter release button right there. So that is the physical side of the 7200 lens. It focuses really quickly. It is weather sealed. It is really nicely weighted. The zoom ring and manual focus ring are fantastic. It focuses super quickly. It's got all the controls you need on the left side. It has a built-in tripod plate and lens collar, 77mm thread. It's fantastic, other than the switches being a little bit too easy to flick with just your finger sliding up and down. But now let's move into Lightroom, take a look at some of these photos that I shot with Tess. I'll share some lighting tips with you. And one thing that I want you guys to keep in mind while we go through these images is that most of them were shot on vibration control mode 3, vibration control on, of course, one-handed with no vertical grip. So I was shooting like this, and I would put my hand over the lens to get a little bit more shade on it to have contrast in the images. So you can see right here we have an image where my hand was not covering the lens, and then we have another image where I was covering the lens to get a little bit more contrast. And yes, of course, this lens does come with a lens hood, but I wish it were a little bit longer because it did reduce some of the glare, but it didn't do enough for me to get fully rid of all the glare and get that contrast back, so you can see that difference in the images. And I still have to keep my hand over. So some of these images I shot a little bit zoomed out, so that way I could crop my hand out of the photos. And yeah, so let's go through Lightroom. If you guys have any questions about this lens, leave them in a comment down below or DM me on Instagram at @BenRevsonPhotography. And hopefully you guys like these images.
This is Tess Timmons reporting from the meadows in who knows where. We are out here shooting with Ben Revson Photography, and we are gonna hit the sunset soon.
Yes, and we're shooting with the Tamron 7200 on the Nikon D750, and we're gonna see how sick these photos turn out of Tess with the sun way behind us. All right, guys, so now we are in Lightroom, and I'm gonna show you these backlit images that were shot with the 70-200 2.8 G2 on the Nikon D750. So I'm going to show you not just the top images, and these files are on my website, which you can see in the description below, but I'm going to show you the raw files as well, kind of show you what the original images look like, and then some of the edits that I did, and also show you the focusing. So we're going to go through a bunch of different files so you can see if they were sharp or not. We'll zoom in, and I'll show you some basic edits, and also how I edited the photos to get my hand out to get this natural contrast. This is my hand in the top that's blurred out, and then I just cropped in. So let's walk through the images really quick. Let me show you this file here. This is a raw file, totally reset. You can see that there. And I wanted it on the darker side so that the hair wasn't blown out. You can see this is 1/1600th of a second, f2.8, almost all the way zoomed in, 185mm. And you can see as we bring it up, the background is super blurred out. But Tess is sharp. Yes, her eyes are closed, but Tess is sharp. And then if we bring the highlights down, we have that detail in the hair. It looks pretty good. And then we can dehaze and get an image kind of like this. And this has a little bit more work done to it with the colors, but you can see that right there. Now, if we click through, you can see this image right here. I think I locked in focus and I stepped back, so it is a little bit blurry, but once we got focus, you can see that the images started getting really sharp and they stayed sharp. So I moved a little bit, Tess moved a little bit, but you can see that it's very sharp on the eyes. It locked focus and kept tracking really, really well. This was on autofocus single, and non-continuous, so basically just single shot autofocus, and you can see that all of these files are sharp. Now, you can see I shot these a little bit wider than I typically would, and that's to use that hand trick. So what I did to add a little bit of contrast is if I reset this image here, you'll see that there's a little bit more contrast here, and that was by adding my hand above the lens, as I showed you guys a little bit earlier in this video. So then what I would do is brighten this image up. So you can see we'll bring the exposure up, bring the highlights down so her hair's not as blown out, and maybe dehaze the image a tiny bit, and press R to crop, hold shift so that it keeps the aspect ratios, and boom, there we go. So you can see now we went from this to this, and we zoomed in so that my hand is not in the image. Yes, we do have a little bit of red glow over the top, but we can either desaturate that or just be cool with the red glow, which I'm fine with. So you can see as we click through, the lens was very sharp. All these images basically were shot at f2.8. This is at 125 millimeters. If we zoom in, you can even see the detail of the hair right here that's going across the eyes. Keep in mind, this is with the D750 24 megapixel sensor, and you can see it looks really good. And at 125 millimeters, the background is very nicely blurred out of this kind of green plant right here and the palm tree behind. And as we get more and more zoomed in, the background blurs more due to the compression. So I'm just kind of clicking through here. You can see the images, and even with the light coming in so strongly from the back, the lens and the D750 did a great job of getting focus on Tess and being sharp. So you can see in this image right here, here's the before, shot a little bit darker, again, to keep that hair from being too blown out. And then when we zoom in, you can see that this is very sharp. You can see all the details in the eyes, the teeth, the face, even the necklace. You can see each individual little piece of it. So I'd say that this lens is super crispy, super happy with how many of these images were in focus. Even with the backlighting, you can see I added my hand right here, and then we crop that image and again, kind of do the same thing. Right here also, you can see kind of a flat image, added a bunch of contrast and color editing, but I'd say that this lens is super sharp. You can see that it just kept nailing focus almost every single shot as we click through here, and it did a great job. I was using back button autofocus. These are one-handed at like 1/1000th of a second, all the way in the range from 70 to 200 millimeters. You can see at 200, this background is just totally blurred out. You can barely see the ocean. This is the rock formation back here. You can see it at 92 millimeters, f3.2, not as blurred out. At 200 millimeters, super nicely blurred. Beautiful bokeh from this lens. Just absolutely fantastic. I can't say enough good things about it. It is a very solid lens to use. You can see the editing right here. This is with nothing done. This is with the exposure, contrast, and dehaze turned up to 41. So if we just dehaze this image, you can see we bring a lot of it back, can bring the blacks down, and then the exposure up. And then we can also just make it a little bit more blue. And now you can see we get so much of that image back just by sliding a few of the sliders in the basic adjustments tab. And you can see that a bunch of these images basically took that look, copy pasted it with the develop settings, and it looked awesome. So that is the Tamron G750 with sample images. If you have any questions, let me know. You can see a quick example right here. As this train passed by, it kept locking focus on Tess, nailing it really sharply. It was great. It didn't, try and track the train or do anything. The lens was super sharp. The bokeh looks fantastic. I just have a bunch of positive things to say about this. You can see I'm just clicking through, and here I purposely focused on this plant, and you can see the difference in bokeh, 105 millimeters, 135 millimeters, both at f2.8. Fantastic lens. If you want to see what the video footage looks like from it on the D750, continue watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and please make sure to subscribe. So this is what the video footage looks like at 70 millimeters, filmed on the Nikon D750 with autofocus full-time face recognition turned on. This is with the internal microphone, so it probably sounds a lot worse in the beginning of the video, but this is just a demonstration of what the footage looks like, filmed off of a tripod, and the beginning of the video was filmed with the Canon SL2 and the 24mm f2.8 lens. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please give it a thumbs up if you're still watching, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Thanks.